Welcome to Bound to Shift, the inspiring book chat in conjunction with the Shift Sisters podcast. Here, we explore transformative stories and powerful books designed to support you through life's inevitable shifts. Whether you're navigating change, seeking growth, or looking for fresh perspectives, our curated selections are crafted to inspire development and ignite your inner strength. Join us as we dive into heartfelt conversations, meaningful insights, and practical tools to help you embrace change with courage and confidence. Because when you are bound to shift, every chapter becomes an opportunity for renewal and transformation. Let's embark on this empowering journey together.
Welcome back, Shifties. Today, we are letting you in on our live book chat. The discussions we have here are so incredibly rich that it's just sad not to share. Now, this book chat that we're doing is actually a year-long deep dive into the 13 original clan mothers, and they are a monthly chapter read, and it's based around the moon cycles. And each chapter has deep wisdom that can really open our perspective and change our thought process on how we approach things on our daily life. So please enjoy Chapter 6, Listening Woman, and the discussions of how it has impacted everyone's thought process. And hopefully, it will inspire some mental shifts within yourself. Enjoy.
Listening Woman is our chapter. And before we dive into all the lessons and just wisdom from this chapter, I wanted to take a moment, since we are in the month of mothers and this is when we celebrate Mother's Day this month. Jen and I had someone that we were interviewing for the podcast, and we talked about motherhood and also kind of mothering yourself. And Joanne and I had a conversation about that this morning, about mothering the self and nurturing the self. And frankly, I need that in my life. And I wanted to just do a round robin, just, a quick hello and check into each one of you and to hear about how you take the time to mother yourself. And maybe you don't, or maybe you don't nurture yourself. And maybe this is an opportunity to recognize that as well. But wanting to just get a sense of, how do we take care of ourselves and give ourselves the things that mothers can give us or maybe haven't given us? Go ahead, my friend.
I feel like I am learning how to mother myself through learning how to mother Charlotte, because
Mm.
I didn't have that nurturing relationship with my mother, and most of the kids in the 80s raised themselves anyway, so you get that, but I often have to stop and think about what I needed at that age, and did I articulate it, or what would have helped me? And then I have to approach her that way, and then I also then, during my own situations, start to think, "Oh, wow, this is where I need to give myself some grace or some downtime or a little validation or social environment."
Do you ever share that with Charlotte? That in your relationship with her, that she's also helping you?
I don't know. I feel like it would have been something that I would have mentioned, but I'm not sure if I've said that exactly. So I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
To mother myself well, like for example, right now, taking time for me, being able
Mhm.
to focus, stay grounded, join you guys on book clubs, doing the activity that I'm doing now tonight, doing some self care, just kind of be able to, keep myself grounded. And I always do my daily walking, so that's a non-negotiable. Yes, so I have to do something to keep my sanity. Yes, for sure. And I'm doing that a lot more than before, because before it was just all kids, all life, all everybody else, and just forget Sherry, put her in a corner for now. She could handle it later, kind of thing. So I'm just pouring into myself first before I can continue to pour out to everybody else.
Amen.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yes.
It's crazy, but I'm doing it. We're all doing it. It's mothering doesn't come with a manual or parenting, period. Doesn't matter if you're a mom or a dad or whatever, parenting.
Hmm. Thank you, Sherry. Anyone else that wants to talk about self nurturing, self mothering, giving back to yourself, and what that looks like in your life right now?
I would say for me, it's making sure that I look at myself each day and tell myself that I love myself and give myself a hug.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I need to do it every day.
So it's I don't do that, and it's like, wow, I how would I start my day or walk into my day having those messages reflected back in the mirror to myself? It can make a big difference.
Yep.
Anyone else wants to share some of the things that they're doing now to just help support themselves or nurture themselves?
I don't associate mothers with nurturing, so it's a weird question to me. But as hearing like what everyone's answers were, you know, that it's mostly just self care. Like, how do you take care of yourself? But I
Mhm.
think I'm in the best time of my life since I have adult children and I don't have any real responsibilities. So my whole day is surrounded with what do I want to do?
Yes, yes.
And I do exactly whatever I wanna do that day or that week, and if I don't feel like doing anything, I don't, and yeah,
Right.
so it's wonderful.
Choosing yourself is definitely it's
Mhm.
such a
Yeah, I really cut out feeling, like, guilt about not participating in something if I don't feel like it. Yeah, so I just do what I want. So if that's mothering yourself, then that's what I'm doing.
good for you because a lot of people don't have that opportunity to do that, right? They can't do what they want at all times. So, what a wonderful place to be and to recognize that.
Yes.
What's interesting is when I thought about this question, people think, self care and they think of the baths and, going to the spa and all of that. And I have started my search to find a therapist. And I stopped to myself and I said, why didn't I do this sooner? And because I'm constantly like looking out and I'm taking care of things around me or for others, and I didn't realize that I had to take care of myself, and I'm like and people, go see therapists, and they have supports and all of that, and it just was such a new thing, so not only am I have a few phone calls in to, a couple people that I'd like to speak to this week, but I'm also interested in, like, group work as well, because I just love the idea of being in community,
Mhm.
and I've been searching a few places where I can meet with others and just share and just have that personal connection as opposed to doing it online or one-on-one. And I stopped and I kind of gave myself a pat on the back and I said, yes, for me, that's self-care because as Sherry said, I can't help others if I'm not pouring back into myself. So that is my work right now in nurturing myself. Yay.
Important one.
Gentlemen, how about you? What are your thoughts about pouring into your cup or nurturing yourselves?
But from my side, I like ebbs and flows. I think similar to what I think Sherry was saying, like I'll put out a lot to the people around me, and then oftentimes kind of get a little lost in the mix. But Jen does a pretty good job of just not mothering per se, but like reminding and saying, "Hey, like, are you thinking about the things to take care of yourself?" Which is a good like bump here and there, just to or hey, like you're allowed to like sit down. So like, because I'll just stay busy too. Even just a little bit ago, she did that same thing. She's like, "You don't have to like work on something today." So it's just those little like kind of reminders that help have permission to give yourself those moments of relaxation, check out, and something that's maybe not either hard to do or work or because you have to do, and that
Mhm.
Yeah.
creates a better balance for sure.
Interesting how others can help you see what you need sometimes because you're just so lost in whatever the thing is and surrounding yourself with the right people and having that is just such a blessing to have that because that person can be the nurturing that you need at that time or to help you self nurture and that's my way of saying hey Sandra you're good you're okay you're moving forward so yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for those shares. And now we're going to get into the chapter. So this was an interesting chapter because, of course, listening is can be hard. Listening can be very hard. And before we dive into kind of the concept of listening and things, we open up this chapter with listening woman, um, kind of feeling her human body. I don't know if you remember that, where she was kind of waking up and touching her body and then noticing that she was hungry, didn't realize what that was and things like that. Um, how did that beginning part of that chapter land for you? Because I had some feelings around that and around my own self and my relationship with my own body. But when you think about how she started this chapter and how she started to get embodied into her physical being, how did that portion of the chapter land for you? So whoever wants to speak up.
Um, I guess for me, it was like a good reminder of like not doing stuff out of obligation because I think like we often eat not necessarily because we're hungry because it's like the time of day to eat.
Yes.
We see things with all the components of how we interpret stuff around us is I think then somewhat separated from the feelings themselves. So I thought it was interesting in that part of the book that she had to go through those small moments of trying to understand what it is and then decide what to do with it because it's kind of like to an extent a little bit of the opposite of how we live now and
Mm.
it's connected to I guess doing things because of the feelings of the body and not like the obligation or you know responsibility or any of the other influences that come from the outside. It's
Yes.
kind of a clean slate too. It's like let's just figure out what these are and what to do with them. Like
Right.
Yes, it kind of reminded me of something that we all probably remember is that we don't remember everything like she did because as soon as she came, she took over being who she needed to be and she worked that all the way through. We come and we take on someone else's worries, troubles, whatever that's embedded in us and it stays in us until we decide that we need to wake up. She
Mhm.
woke up right away, which is very interesting.
One of the things that resonated with me is my grandmother used to say to me one time, I don't know what we were talking about, and she said, "Do you know how much your liver does for you? You should thank your liver. You should, and it was like a joke or whatever. And I said to myself, you're right. It doesn't stop. It doesn't take a break. It keeps working. It keeps filtering. It keeps doing its thing. Right. And I don't know why, but there was just something that just kept reminding me of like those conversations I used to have with my grandmother. And also like the gratitude of like being grateful for your body. And maybe that wasn't the message that was supposed to be relayed in the way it was shared, but that's what just kept coming up for me, and I wanted to say that out loud. And and then it's like you lose an opportunity. You break a toenail, and it's like you're you can hardly walk, right? So like that idea of just being grateful for the body was something that landed for me um, in that first opening scene.
it also reminded me when you just said that of an activity that people can do to like help kind of ground yourself in a moment.
Hmm.
They call like 5 4 3 2 1 technique, and it was five things. Like you would just stop, look around you. What's five things that you can see,
Hmm.
you can touch, three things you can hear, two that you can smell, and the one that you can taste. You just go through those bit by bit, and you realize pretty quickly too, like how much of the things around you that you ignore, kind of on a
Yeah.
daily basis too. Like even smells, like it could be crazy smells around you. Like you might mildly notice it, but like yeah, like
Hmm.
kind of write it off. Or sounds, like when you're paying attention to that too, you hear sounds like stuff around you that you've otherwise completely tuned out. So that activity kind of reminds me of what you have to go through a little bit in the beginning to figure each one of those out.
Right. And that's the importance of like the listening within, right? The intuition and the things that were coming up. And that's later on in this chapter where there are certain messages that are coming up that now she's listening to or others are listening to because they were able to slow down and quiet. So yeah.
It made me think about, that's one of the strategies that I teach in my practice is checking in with yourself and, what is it that you need? And then I was like, I actually never check in with myself. And I just have my little morning routine and it's the same every morning.
Yeah.
And so I started saying like, well, actually, I don't feel like doing this first. I feel like doing this first. And then this is actually what I would rather do. I'd
Mhm.
rather go do this. And then I'm just like checking in with myself more like, do I feel like doing this or is this just part of my routine? No, I don't feel like doing it. And then I'll just do what I feel like doing.
Then you exercise that free will, girl. And
Yeah.
you're like, I'm just the other thing that's checking and see these are all tips that are helping me, right? Because I'm like, oh, I don't do that either. I don't check in with myself enough. throughout my day and how I could pivot from where I am at that space.
You know, to piggyback off what Adam said, I've been doing a lot of morning walks. And so I'm kind of being very in tune now with everything that's in my surroundings. So much life out there. And you start hearing the birds and you see all these wild animals that we have down here. You're like, oh my God, I didn't even know we were that close to so much nature. And you find things that you would never think they were there, and hear things and see things and smell things, like Adam was saying. It's just, it's brought so much awareness to me because I was kind of just doing my walks because I had to do it. Initially, it started because I had to walk the dogs, of course, and I wanted them to kind of be able to walk a little bit more than just having to take them outside. So I'm like, all right, let's go walk on the trail and do the things. And then it just became a habit now because that's what I do every day. And it's the change in how I started to what it's now. Now I get to kind of be present. I get to be in it, and just notice new things different every day. It's something new, and I'm still yet walking through the same trail, but I see something new every single day. And if you're not really what's the word? If you're really not present and you're not really seeing it, so you could just be passing by it all the time. And if you're really not in that moment, you're going to be missing it all the time. So stillness is truly something to work on, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I really like that.
Being present. That's definitely
So
something that,
important.
yeah, it's super important. And talking about that, thinking about this chapter, how is listening presented and as opposed to just hearing, right? Because they talked about the language of love and what that looks like and how communication happened prior to language and what that looked like as well. So, thinking about the chapter, what would you say the difference is between the listening piece and the hearing piece?
I believe the hearing piece actually took more energy, took more of your attention away from everything else if you were actually going to be listening. The speaking, well, everybody else blows. So, it's just that. But I believe the hearing is very difficult and has to be, you have to teach yourself.
Right, right. It's a different process for sure.
Yeah, it seemed like it was more focused on like intuition and like figuring out what you're actually hearing,
Mhm.
like the actual true message.
Yes. Absolutely. And I think one of the pieces too, she talks about body language, right? And observing the other. And uh what were your thoughts around that? Because that's an important piece of communication. And there's body language experts out there. And if you raise your eyebrows or if you purse your lips, it means this, it means that, and all of this. But yeah, what were your thoughts around that? The whole body language piece.
I was gonna say body language can be so confusing depending on the type of wiring in your brain, really, right? And I have constant misunderstandings because he isn't one for reading facial expressions or body language or to understand them. And his don't frequently match his words or intention. And I'm all like, ooh, fix your face before I can finish this conversation. It's stressing me out. And it's just, you know, be hard. Yeah.
Yeah, that happened the other morning.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard too because culturally, body language can mean so many different things to communicate, you know? So culturally, right there, you're like so confused. I'm like, okay, did I really mean to do this for that person? Or, just any minor gesture that may not mean anything to you can be so defensive for someone else. And you're
Mhm.
like, well, what did I do wrong? It's really hard. It's really hard.
And especially if you're talking to somebody who is neurodivergent and they have different ways of expressing themselves, and then you think like, oh, this is the way you're supposed to act. But
Mhm.
Like we live on a daily basis. You'd be like, "Why are you like like you're disgusted in the thing that
Yeah, but
you're telling you?" And I'm like, "Just listening." Like, like my facial expression has no bearing on like what you're saying.
why are you listening so meanly?
Well, I think that was interesting that like she started off in a cave, like by herself, stillness in the dark, right? And then when you're interacting with others, it's a whole different ball game, right? The listening is very different. And she talked about seeing some of the disconnect between their body language and their words, and how that can be challenging. And I think about that as well. Like I meet a lot of people, and I talk to people on a daily basis at work, and it's all, video. So, how do you discern some of that, right? Because that's also a challenge. So verbal communication, nonverbal communication, super important in this chapter. And there's a silence that helps calm some of that she talks about later in this particular chapter. So listening woman talks about these two men that come to her, and they have a problem, and they need her help, and they want to get her support. And she took some time to reflect, and it was challenging for her during that time of reflection because she was distracted. It was cold. There was just she just didn't feel as whole, but she was able to hear her voice. And then she had an interesting prescription for them, which was to share each other's perspective, the opposite perspective. Now, in all honesty, could you have done that? Because I know sometimes when I'm, in a conflict with someone and I know that I'm right, it's hard to see the other side. So, what are your thoughts about, her prescription to these two gentlemen in terms of their conflict?
Personally, I feel it's the right thing to do because you don't understand what the other person is going through. You have no idea what they've had to deal with, and now they got to deal with you. So, I think it's the right thing to do.
Have you done that in conflicts or things in the past?
Oh my goodness, how many years? I spent 26 years in the military. I did it a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
We move around all the time.
Mhm.
People don't like this
I
person
share.
because they weren't the same person at their shop. So it happens a lot.
Yes. It's very strategic, very thinking about the next step or things, it seems like. But it's I think for me it can be a little bit of a challenge because I'm so stuck in my own thoughts and in my own, perspective, and that's my truth. And this chapter helped me to think about that, right? Like when I'm in those spaces of, well, let's look at it in the other perspective and how you can grow from that.
Yeah, it's another way that I look at it instead of maybe just like is that I don't necessarily always know the other perspective. So if somebody has a behavior that doesn't match what I guess I would expect,
Yeah.
I try to think like either one, assume positive intent, like what is it that's going on in their life, like that could be contributing to that, and also ask myself like why they could be like acting that way, because I think it's easy to jump to a conclusion based on my experience of whatever they're
Right.
going through to say like if somebody's being an ass at work or something, you just be like that person is an asshole. But if I instead look through it like the lens of like I wonder what is going on in that person's life. Could very well be then I show up with compassion because they could be going through something very hard health wise or have something in their family that's going on or a young child that's not sleeping at night. Like there's a million very likely like explanations to why those people could be the way that they are. And then it definitely just helps have more grace in a lot of moments where people are otherwise difficult.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. It's true.
that's kind of another perspective thing. It's not exactly right. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
because I'm not digging in enough to know what their perspective is, but I'm allowing like other perspectives to exist.
Yeah, I like that. I'm sure someone, you've heard or seen like a video where it's just like, if someone cuts you off in traffic, assume that they're,
Yeah.
they're going to the hospital.
Free and-
What did you say, girl?
I said, just assume they have diarrhea.
Yes. Give them a little grace because they have diarrhea. I mean, really, it could be anything.
I have to remember that one.
You'll never forget it after today.
Not at all.
But yeah, it's a different perspective, and you're not stuck in that space of like, this is my way is the only way, and thinking about, what else there could be. So for sure. So another question is, what do you think, thinking about listening and truly listening, what do you think prevents people from listening or being present? Like what are your thoughts around the barriers of being present?
think your own thoughts, like whatever your personal things that you're going through, can also prevent from listening.
Mhm.
So preoccupied with like your worries, your happiness, your concerns, whatever it may be, that then you don't really have as much investment in the the people around you per se, or the person maybe you're interacting with.
Yeah. And I also feel like I'm playing chess. Like I feel like I need to know your move, your next move, so I am ready with my response. And it's like I am not present. I was not using that, present moment to be there because I'm anticipating what you're saying, so I'm ready because I always want to be ready. And obviously that takes away from actually the method.
I think a small way this happens a lot is like if we're around people we care about, but then like on our phone or something like that. I think that's like one of those like listening, being present opportunities that can be missed a lot. Like, because I try to think of things through that, like examples. So it's great to hear all these like principles that make a ton of sense. And like, yeah, we could apply it in our life in a big way. But if I can't think of how to like in small ways to apply it, then that helps me kind of, I guess, make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so true. It's like if I say something to Michael and he wants to instantly search it for it, and I'm like, "But I'm still talking." Oh, what
Yeah.
else I'm gonna say?
Like, well, find your answer.
Finish.
Yeah.
Yes, because all I wanna do is just, like, finish my thought because maybe there's something else that's gonna happen, but now I'm distracted because I see you doing that, and I don't think you're listening, and then it just becomes this jumble. Gretchen, is that a problem?
Huge problem for me, but I do it to him sometimes too. So it's fair. I'm just a little bit more annoyed by it than he is by it because sometimes I just want to finish my thought. You understand?
Yes, 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 100%.
Uh-huh.
And it's like I have to also like you know how there are people that need to just keep busy all the time? Like you just can't clean. You have to clean and listen to a podcast or, listen to music or things like that. So there are times where I've spoken to people and they're busy and it's like, look at me, please. I want to know, just acknowledge me. And that's the youngest child syndrome, right? Like I need you to be there with me and make eye contact and all of that. So all right, here we go.
Okay, here we go. So we completely forgot about, and maybe you're going to bring it up, about sitting still.
Yes, yes, yes,
Oh my goodness.
yes.
That's the worst thing in the world.
Why is it the worst thing in the world?
I can never do it. If they offered me $10 billion right now to sit still for 1 minute, I couldn't do it.
It's hard to believe.
I've
I
seen
don't.
it.
I don't peg you as like the always in motion.
I can't sit still.
Why is it so hard for us to sit still? Let's dig into that. Why is it?
It's easy for me to sit still. It's so much easier for me to just sit still than it is for me to be constantly moving. I don't know why, but I thoroughly enjoy just sitting still. And Delton is so opposite.
That's how our daughter is too. She'll like when we're going to bed or something, she'll just keep moving. Like she can like not be still, but the second she's still, she's falling asleep.
She's gone.
Uh-huh.
It's like
But that's what stillness does. It brings a presence that you really ignore all the rest of the time. And once you get still, stop pointing at me. Once you get still, you're able to hear the rest of the story.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I don't like stillness. I'm afraid of the stillness because all the stuff comes up. And I keep myself busy because I'm thinking about,
Mhm.
I tend to think about the worry or the thing that
The what ifs.
the what ifs, right? And so I keep myself busy. And I keep myself busy with things that make me happy or I try to make me happy, right? So, I love a good party. I love, socialization. I love being in community. And I do that because I don't want to be still and I don't want to be silent and I don't want to have the things come up. And it is important to have that silence because sometimes when I've allowed myself to be there, I'm still thinking about that thing from 10 years ago, or I'm still worried about, this or whatever it is. But I agree. For me, it's a hard thing for that reason.
Yeah, I think it's in a sense like an avoidance deal. Like when
Yes.
you're like you're not actually lifting up the hood to address the thoughts and the issues that are like kind of under the surface.
Yes.
Whereas you are still like you're going to be present with those things. They don't always have to be bad. Like it can be, probably good stuff, all and everything in between. But if there's no space for them, then it's just going to be there under the surface, and probably showing up in different ways, right? Like maybe you're a little less patient, or maybe you're a little, more sad or happy. Like, a lot of times that is the undercurrent of the way we're showing up every day is those feelings that are kind of under the surface.
I
So,
think that's what gives us that nervous system like overload, right? Where everybody's like, "Do you need a nervous system reset?" It's like, no, I need a new purchase because this shit is broken.
Where do I get a new model? Yeah, I need a new model. And I'll get there. I'll, work on it and do all the things that I'm supposed to do to help it and hopefully give myself some more, self-nurturing and support from the outside as well.
avoid it though, Sandra, then, or do you actually still like push
I
some of the stillness?
I avoid it. I'm still when I'm sick, and that sounds terrible. And that sounds terrible. Keep going until I just can't. And that is not a healthy and safe way to live. And I know that, right? So when I have those moments that either, I go somewhere and I meditate and things like that. I mentioned this on the podcast and with Jen and all that, that I don't even stay in the stillness. I think about I create a scene in my head as opposed to just nothing. Right. And I think that keeps me safe or makes me feel safe in that space. So it's definitely something I have to work on. And I know that I have to work on it. And that's why like I love to hear your feedback because it's like what does stillness or silence look like for you? Because for me, it could be a very scary place.
Yeah, I think I would do it two ways. One was like true meditative stillness, like clear things from my mind, but that
Hmm.
would be a little more challenging, especially if like things keep coming up for you that are difficult. The other one though is to have, like you said, a purposeful like visualization.
Yeah.
I can't remember the book I got it from, but it would be like imagine how you would want like a scene to go in the positive way.
Yeah.
Like, the feelings, how it would play out, like because like for one, that's more likely to make that like it's just as likely to make that come to reality as not, right? Like either both are equally likely.
Hmm.
But two, it'll like set your intention and your like physiology so that when you have that interaction, you're kind of already showing up with a like positive element in it.
Yes.
Like that. I know that's helped like in a lot of cases too, with like even stuff with me and Jen. Like I may had like certain elements where I'm thinking like, oh, she's gonna be a pain in my ass today. Well, that's not like a great dynamic to show up with, assuming she's gonna be a pain in the ass. Whereas if like I look through the same thing and I'm like, oh, like we're gonna have a really good time today, or like this is gonna be a really fun experience. It completely changes the energy in the situation. It changes how I interact and show up, and it very well may create the frame for how she then responds to how the situation goes. So I think I say all that to say for your sake, Sandra, like you have like a very deliberate thing that you can focus on. It might keep your mind from drifting to the other things
Yeah.
because you spend that kind of time building the positive.
But are you saying like take whatever that hard thing is that comes up and reframe that particular thing?
That could be an option if it's
Oh,
something that you're struggling with, but you don't want to, that could be another avoidance, right? If it's a hard thing that you truly just need to sit with and like get through, like that's unfortunately something that we have to do sometimes too.
Yeah.
But if it's an unknown of like the future and you're making it into a hard thing, like you could just as easily like think about that as a positive thing too, if it could go either way, right?
Yeah, I like that because I think that's where, reaching out to a therapist is gonna help because I just sometimes things feel too big, and both in the future and things that are coming up. So I feel like that is something that I would like to, like with intention address. And that's why I'm doing all of these, like I'm doing actual interviews with therapists. It's just to tell them like, hey, have you dealt with this? Have you dealt with that? I'd love to, really find the right person that's going to help me with the intention that I have.
down here in the chat, it looks like Aura said something that I hear Gretchen actually say all the time. She says that one of the biggest game changers for her has been reframing I have to I get to. So
Yeah. Yeah. It really does make that energy shift when you say it in that way.
mhm.
I started doing that because I have so many supplements I have to take at night. And I'm like, by the way, I'm still taking supplements if you're wondering. And because it just seems like it's such a long thing. I'm like, oh, I hate taking these stupid things. And then I started saying, like, you know what? Some people can't afford all of these supplements and they would be happy to be able to take them. So I get to take these supplements. So I started saying that to myself. I'm not sure if it's working or not, but I'm saying it to myself in hopes that it will make it not horrible.
Yes.
It seems like such a lengthy process.
Yeah. Anyone have anything else to add about silence or the power of silence, the importance of silence? Are you, do you practice silence in your lives?
I wanted to say something about it, but I don't want to be like too mental healthy here.
Mhm.
But one of the questions that is on one of the questionnaires I give for screening for anxiety is, does it feel like you're constantly on the move, almost like you're run by a motor? And then the like constantly having to move sometimes is like a sensory need that your body has, like to have input to regulate your nervous system. So it's not always a bad thing. In I think it was August of like the year of COVID 2020, and we were not in a house. We were, like, staying in an Airbnb while we were looking for a house, and we were in a one-bedroom Airbnb with none of our stuff. All of our stuff was in storage. There was nothing to do. We just moved from Seattle to Dallas, and I have asthma, so I was very worried about getting, COVID, so I was not going anywhere. I was not doing anything, just going for walks. So I didn't have anything to do. So I wound up just sitting around, like staring out the window because I had a dog who stared out the window also.
Mm.
And I would just look out the window, like, what are you looking at? Because also I don't really watch TV. And so watching TV wasn't a time passer for me. And
Mhm.
I would just stare out the window and then we would go to the park and I would just sit there. And I swear, I feel like my nervous system became a completely different nervous system during that time with no intention, just out of complete boredom because I'm not a huge like social media scroller either.
Mm.
So I just was bored and I was used to hanging out with friends and going places and doing things. And all of a sudden I'm in a whole other state with no friends. Plus I can't make friends because we didn't want to leave. And I just felt like I felt so calm that summer and so regulated. Where I was not feeling like that prior to that, and I don't know if the forced boredness did that, but during that time of silence, we weren't talk I mean, I wasn't talk what's there to talk about? What did you do? Same thing I did yesterday. Went for a walk today, park, looked out the window like a dog. Same thing, repeat.
Well, it's the shift of the power of the lockdown almost, right? Like people can talk about all of the things, the negative things that came from it, but it seems like did you feel like that you were your most regulated at that time?
Yes, I loved it. I would go back to it. I want the lockdown. I crave a lockdown. Lock me down. Don't let me go anywhere.
We were like, "Oh, thank God we don't have to go anywhere,
With the
and we
host.
don't have to find a
Yeah.
reason to say no." I'm
I
like, "Oh my God,
loved it. I
don't
loved loved it. Yeah. Uh,
So interesting.
I like being very quiet, very still, very silent. I can get in the car and turn the radio off. I don't want to hear it and drive to where I'm going without listening to anything, just me and my thoughts, or sometimes just nothing. And then wondering, did I run that red light back there or was it red or done that
Right.
a time or two?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'll do like a 4 or 5 hour car ride with nothing, no sound, nothing, just
Mhm.
quiet,
Yeah.
and I love it.
It is, but I've also noticed though, like I did a 10-day silent retreat and yeah,
That
cool.
sounds wonderful.
It was cool. It's right outside of Dallas and Kaufman.
Really?
Yes, it is Vipassana is what it's called. But
Awesome.
10 days silent retreat from 4:30 in the morning and the last meditation ended about 9:15, 9:30. But you basically were just meditating throughout the whole day other than your breakfast and you had lunch. We had tea in the evening, but even then there was still no talking. You didn't get to talk until the ninth day, and that was in the afternoon. They let us start talking just so we could exchange numbers with anyone that we wanted to. But one of the things that I learned about that is when you're that still and you're not talking, so many things come up for you. And
Mhm.
for me, it wasn't in a bad way. So I can't say,
No.
or a sad way or a way that I didn't want to deal with something. Because that's how we ended up getting to Colorado when we moved from Texas to Colorado, because I kept hearing Colorado. And I didn't get what that was about. And then I started seeing license plates from Colorado, or a book was published in Colorado, or it was set in Colorado. And then the big game changer came when we were exiting the highway and there was a billboard that said, "Come to Colorado."
Gretchen had your name on it.
It really did. So from that experience, I also learned how to feel movement in my body that you typically don't feel because you're so busy doing this and doing that. After the fourth day, I could lay down and I could literally and it wasn't a twitch, it was just a movement within my body, in my leg, in my foot, in my arm. And I had never felt anything like that before. But I didn't feel that until I sat in the silence without talking. So it was very interesting. So I love the silence. I keep telling Delton, I really want to go do 30 days of no talking, just a silent retreat, 30 days. But I don't want to go to some place where it's scheduled what you do that day. It's for my body to tell me, what do I do today? Do I go to the beach today? No. Do I stay here today? Do I just sit and whatever my body says it wants, I want to be able to give it that instead of having structure where you have to be up at this time and be here at that. I don't want to do that. And I want to be quiet. I want to check off what I want to eat for breakfast or lunch or whatever, and just slip a piece of paper back under the door and someone picks it up. I don't see them, they don't see me. I just want that silence because I know if I take the time to do that, that shifts everything for me.
I so want to do this now.
I know I'm sitting here going, God,
I want to do this.
like, it's changed my life.
I feel like it would too, but I need to do it around people just in case if I spiral, I'm not like you could because as I said, silence is just not a friend of mine, but I love what you're saying and I'm feeling inspired of like, yeah, what would it say if it's feeling safe. I just want to feel safe.
Mhm.
And I feel like if I have other people around me that are my safety, my landing place, I could
Mhm.
do it, but I'm afraid of doing it on my own.
Well, keep in mind baby steps. To get to 30 days, you got to start with 30 seconds.
Yes, sir.
That's true.
Look at him, John, coming with these tips. Oh,
Because I've gotten quiet and I've had the opportunity to literally be in touch with my soul, not just my mind and my heart, but all of it. So if I can tune everything out and just have that silence, it shifts life completely. And I know it will shift mine.
Okay, like I need a part of this.
go ahead, Aura.
Like
In the section.
connectivity. I have to jump in and say, firstly, it's a luxury of silence that I don't think that I get afforded as a woman, as the daughter in in households. I don't get afforded the luxury of silence. Like my life is predominantly being there for others, looking out for others, or worrying about what I'm going to do for this person or what I need to do for that person. So it's a luxury to me. And I think it's glorious that you've had that, but it's been so far removed to me that it's a luxury that I don't always know that I can afford. And I do try when I'm doing my meditations to have that moment, but it feels almost selfish.
We started the conversation about talking about how we nurture ourselves and give ourselves, some kindness and some love and thinking about different ways to do that. And maybe you don't even do that and you're just starting the conversation of how can I do that? So um yeah, it's not always easy. And to know how to do it is just I could see that.
Or I have a possible reframing for you. My mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 2 years ago, and her neurologist told us that it was due to lack of self-care, physical care, mental care, emotional care, and chronic stress. So you could reframe it and say, to not take this time of silence for myself is selfish because my children will be taking care of me.
I love that. And that's also something that I grapple with because I am an unbiological mother, meaning that I don't have children of my own, but there are nieces and nephews that I've raised and count them as my own, and I would kill for them. And friends that I see as like that, still that maternal role.
Mhm.
but just that dichotomy of like, how much do I give? How much do I give back? Like, I don't, it's so hard when you're in a caregiver role for so long to know how to switch that off and say, this is okay for me to do this for myself and not feel selfish. And I know selfish isn't a bad word, but in those moments, you do feel like, but I could be doing this for somebody else. Like I could be still helping somebody else. I could still be doing this until the gas runs out and you still wonder, how could I siphon more gas to give to somebody else? Like it's a terrible position to be in and a blessed one to help others. But at what point do you really say to yourself, it's okay being selfish? And that's, I'm working on it. Don't get me wrong, but it's not an easy line to toe.
Or have you thought about just trying 3 minutes? You can do 3 times a day, 3 minutes of just meditating and being quiet. And if you do it for 21 days, if you're able to do it for 21 days, just 3 minutes, that's all. You can do it once a day if you want, but 3 times a day is optimal for the shift because then a shift begins to take place by the time you get to that
Agreed.
first day.
Agreed. And I will tell you that ironically, I meditate every day for 30 minutes, but there's usually music or raindrops or whatever. What I've started to learn to do is actually sit in silence. No ambience, like no raindrops, no rainforest, no white noise, but to sit in silence, in absolute silence, it's petrifying because it does bring up stuff. It could bring up good stuff. It could bring bad stuff or negative emotion or like the repressed feelings that you've had that you've buried down because you've had to be the strong one. And I admittedly am not ready to face that. So I've been doing just like 1 minute. I'm like, I'll just do 1 minute of silence. Like, this is what I can take right now because I'm not ready to face all of that. And that's okay. It's a journey, it's a process, but I am trying with my 30 to 1 minute moments of
Yeah.
And that's the beauty in it is that you're putting forth the effort for it. So you're doing great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I just need we need some retreat, like something like the silent piece of it is just, I'm just so drawn to it and so fascinated by it. You know, touching grass for me is a, you know, relatively new thing. So enjoying the nature with that as well. And just thinking about just, you know, this one chapter just led us to these conversations and how we can support ourselves and the importance of the silence and the importance of communicating and being present. The being present piece, I think, is also something that needs to be exercised as opposed to thinking about the next 10 things or on your phone and all of that. Is there anything that resonated you that we didn't speak of? Or, you know, what came for you at the end of this chapter? Anything that you'd like to share about Listening Woman and how it landed for you?
What resonated with me was it echoed my sentiment that really a woman's intuition is the voice of God in the universe. Like, it's important that we trust our gut always. It has never steered me wrong. I don't always listen to her, but she's always right. And I think that it's important for us to listen to that voice because I genuinely believe that's our highest version of ourselves, warning us for good or bad and saying, yeah, do this or don't do that. And the material plane will tell you, no, do it or don't do it. But in the end, that voice is always right. And I need to lean into that a lot more.
Yes. Trusting your inner wisdom and your intuition. Thank you, Aura.
I would say for me, there were two things that I really felt. And one of them was on page 124, where they're saying there is more inner peace available with each passing session because more members of the human tribe are discovering the way home. The love is returning. I can say I feel that and I see that a lot with the conflicts that are happening all over, but so yet so many people are waking up to I don't have to. And then so many other ways. And so I love the fact that for me, just the one line, the love is returning, it's like it gave me even more hope
Yes.
because it is returning. It's just going through that battle right now to see who's going to win. And it's now time for love to win and for love to return. So that part really stood out for me. And then the very last paragraph that they had, where listening woman sat in the stillness and listened. The emerging voices that were calling her name came as a surprise. The time for humans to listen and to reach for spiritual wholeness, discarding separation, limitation, had finally arrived. And I feel like that's what we're living in right now.
I think for me, it affirmed, usually around 8 o'clock, I turn my phone off, or like put it on do not disturb and put it in another room. And then Franklin, my partner, and I, we basically stopped talking to each other. Just it started during COVID because we were in a, like we need our time away from each other, but we've just continued it on, and we call it our Musa time. And like at 8 o'clock, he goes his way, I go my way, and then we don't really talk until the next morning when we wake up. When he wakes up like around 9 or 10. But and I enjoy that because I usually go to bed around 10. I enjoy that 2 hours of not having to talk to anybody. There's no expectations of anything around me, and I love that. It's my favorite time of day.
Like if we were empty nesters,
Yeah,
they do
kids, it's a
that.
little tough
Yeah,
because they got
but I
questions.
can see us doing that.
Yeah.
Just like her, like
Love my
quiet,
alone
like
time.
some time in the morning to just get herself
In the
grounded.
night and in the afternoon.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I usually usually at 8 o'clock I'll be like, okay, see you later. Like actually say bye to each other.
Well, how do you do that with a chatty partner? Because Michael's like, "Good morning, good morning," and he's like, you know, he does a whole
That's it.
production at like 6 in the morning, and I'm sitting there like, "Ah."
Yeah, well, I left with the importance of the it's the silence, and it's thinking, what are the things that I can do? What are some action items that I can do? And as Adam say, I can start with 30 seconds, and then I can do a minute, and then I can add on to that. And hopefully, when I finish my interviewing with my therapist this week, hopefully I can also work through some of those things that are scary that come up, or things that I don't want to address at this time because I just have too many things on my plate, or whatever the case may be. So this was an appropriate and really great time to read this chapter in my life at this time. Yeah. Amazing. This was a wonderful chat. About Listening Woman. Anyway, y'all, have a great week. Thank you so much for this conversation, and we'll see you next time. And that's it for today's shift. Thank you so much for sharing this space with us. If you're loving the conversation, become a Shifty. Like, follow, subscribe, and most of all, share this episode with someone who's shifting too, or someone who seriously needs to get their shift together.
Do you have thoughts, questions, topic requests, or maybe you're feeling the nudge to collaborate? Visit us at shiftsisterpodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're so grateful for your presence, your friendship, and your willingness to do the work with us. Because shift happens and we're not meant to do it alone.
We'll meet you back here next time to breathe, reflect, and talk shift.